Oshiomhole dismisses APC defectors, calls them mercenaries. Electricity distributors say Nigeria may not have stable power supply in 5 years. On the international scene, 19 dead, more than 3,000 in need of rescue after Lagos Dam collapse. And in sport, Nigerian Football Coaches Association pledges support for Salisu Yusuf in bribery saga.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Senate and House members' defections from the ruling All Progressives Congress to the People's Democratic Party are still reverberating across the country. It appears to have even had a strategic effect on the ruling party as response had been measured. But APC's national chairman Adams Oshiomhole has some strong comments on the defectors. He said they are mercenaries over whose departures he will not lose any sleep. Then he made an allusion when he said too that, quote, "This business of governance must be driven by men and women of honor," end quote. He also castigated them as those who are motivated by personal interest. He said they should return to where they belong if they had been in the party for what they could gain. He said the defectors must have found out they could not fit into the requirements of the Progressive Party, which is people-driven, people-based, and people-oriented. So they decided to go where they fit in. He said the problem is what the party has had a coalition of people whose ideas are not compatible. 15 APC senators decamped to the PDP while 33 House members switched to PDP and ADC on Tuesday. Meanwhile, President Muhammad Buhari has some tongue-in-cheek comments on the avalanche of defections. He says they had to decamp from APC because they had zoning issues in their states, especially zoning that bars some of them from seeking another term in their constituencies. The president said none of the defectors had any specific grievance against him or his administration and that he harbors nothing against any one of them. He then reiterated his commitments to democratic values, freedom of choice, and willingness to work with every National Assembly member, regardless of party affiliation, for the betterment of the nation. The president said in a statement that the party had done all it could to stop the defections. He described the defection as a seasonal occurrence that happens on elections eve. To push the point home to members, APC says no one should be bent out of shape on these defections. The party's National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi said, with the 2019 elections around the corner, the party would continue to consolidate on its majority status both in the House and in 25 states. He urged party members to be calm, promising APC would continue to strongly position itself for the next general elections. Shifting attention away from the defections from the Senate, Abdullahi points to figures in the House and in 25 states where APC still holds majority status. In the PDP camp, celebrations rang in the air in the House of Representatives on Tuesday morning over the defections. Representatives in the PDP caucus sang and praised of Yakubu Dogara, Speaker of the House, and Chukwuka Onyema, current minority leader, whom they started calling the majority leader. The defections have taken a toll on APC as PDP is now closer to holding a majority in the Senate. APC still hold a wide majority in the House. APC members in the House are now glossing over the defections. They have urged their party leaders to take necessary action against the 37 defectors from their group. House leader Femi Gbajabiamila said there is legal precedent to follow in this situation. He cited a Supreme Court ruling that it was not a person that was elected, but the political party. He wants APC to take necessary action based on this ruling. He says this will enable the party to further entrench democracy. I quote him now. When people elect you on a particular platform, that seat does not belong to you, but to your constituency, end quote. The meaning is quite clear. Election bells are ringing now around the country, and of course permutations are getting higher on who will occupy what seats next year. Every state is active, but Kogi is in focus as a result of all the drama engendered by Senator Dino Melaye, who represents Kogi West Senatorial District. There is action on the right side of the state, Kogi East Senatorial District, where there is excitement about Dr. Victor Alewo Adoji, who has thrown his heart in the ring to represent the people in the Senate. It appears the people in that district are ready and willing to back him. Most residents in Kogi East Senatorial District believe Adoji's representation in the Senate will be a harbinger of good things for their districts. Kogi East Senatorial District produces the largest local government in West Africa, but it suffers poor developments because of what is believed to be bad representation in the legislature. Now to other stories. The Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors has some glooming forecast for electricity consumers in the country. It says that the government does not tackle and resolve the challenges the sector faces now, and Nigeria may not have stable power supply in the next 5 years. The association identifies some of those problems as liquidity gap of more than 1 trillion naira and lack of improved generation because of mismatched electricity pricing. If the illiquidity is not addressed, the association says the sector could collapse. It says such a collapse could be a great calamity and could cause local banks to collapse. That sounds very serious. Back to the issue of traffic gridlock in Lagos. The federal government had originally planned a 3-day closure of the Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos on Friday. Well, it has had a rethink. Closing it on that day would worsen the already horrible gridlock in the city caused by the Apapa Port traffic debacle. The federal government, in cooperation with the Lagos state government in working out the plan to ease traffic congestion in Lagos, has decided to shift the closure date of the Third Mainland Bridge to August 24th. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says the date change was done to relieve the people of Lagos State and other interstate road users. It is also to support state government efforts to decongest the roads in Lagos. The minister announced that oil tankers and container trucks that have overtaken Lagos roads and created interminable traffic jams will now immediately be deployed to a trailer park being built by the ministry to accommodate at least 300 trucks. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has made a case for community policing to complement the efforts of police and security agents. The governor said at the Institute for Security Studies in Abuja that this would strongly enhance the fight against criminality in the country. He also advocated for paramount importance to be given to strong intelligence gathering over the provision of physical security apparatus because of the country's current security issues. He said this would rescue Nigeria from the myriad of security challenges it now faces. The saying, "Do the crime, do the time," doesn't fit in the case of a civil servant in Sokoto who has been convicted of killing a lawyer. Now that the judge found him guilty of the crime, he is to die by hanging. 37-year-old Atiku Galadima was accused of killing Sirajo Abubakar 6 years ago and fled to Kaduna, where he was arrested after 4 years. Galadima said a misunderstanding led to Abubakar's death, but the judge rejected that plea. Instead, the judge believed the prosecution's charge that the killing was intentional. Although prosecution's evidence was largely circumstantial, the judge was convinced that Galadima intentionally killed the lawyer because he became a fugitive for 4 years. Galadima was also unable to account for his whereabouts on the day of the killing. He has been sentenced to death by hanging, but has 3 months within which to appeal. So with us, CNN News will be back after the short break.
Breaking news. MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM. That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
There is a new all-news network on the scene in Nigeria to give news from a purely news perspective and to promote free information flow across Africa. Fresh views, unbiased, bold, with a purely African view. African News Network, ANN, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now some African stories. 2 mortar rounds landed on central Mali's Sivare airport earlier this week in a suspected jihadist attack. No casualties were reported. Sivare is home to a UN mission base as well as to the headquarters of the G5 Sahel Anti-Terror Force, which draws troops from Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania and Niger. Malians are due to vote in the presidential election on Sunday. Osa said both rounds came from the east of the airport. One exploded in the south and the other in the north, close to the Ford depot, which was believed to be the target. Security forces secured the airport several hours after the attack. The Democratic Republic of Congo has declared the end of an outbreak of Ebola. This marks the end of a 10-week re-emergence of the disease, which claimed more than 30 lives. Health Minister made this announcement following an observation period of 42 days during which no new confirmed cases have been observed. This declaration is in conformity with international health regulations. The outbreak began in the remote northwestern area of Bikoro, where the first cases were recorded 2 months ago. The minister said after verification, the National Coordinating Committee recorded a total of 54 cases of Ebola, comprising 33 deaths and 21 survivors. International groups will remain in the country for monitoring. Aaron Banks, a Brazil donor, was reported to have paid thousands of pounds into a government minister's private bank account while seeking a license to protest for diamonds in Lesotho. The Bristol-based businessman confirmed he gave money to the politician, but says it was to help fund his political campaign. The government minister admitted the Banks transferred £65,000 into his personal bank account in South Africa, but asked authorities to practice a very fair policy. An anti-corruption investigator is probing the alleged link in light of evidence gathered. UN Human Rights Office said on Tuesday voter intimidation, threat of violence and coercion, including people forced to attend political rallies, are being increasingly reported ahead of Zimbabwe's election at the end of this month, especially in rural areas. Spokeswoman Elizabeth Rosa told a news briefing in Geneva there has always been the worrying use of disparaging language against female political candidates. She called on the authorities, political parties and their supporters to ensure that elections are not marred by such acts so that all Zimbabweans can participate free from fair in a credible election process. A Chatsworth mosque caught fire on Wednesday morning at Majlistan Mokhtar in Durban. Police spokesperson Conor Thembeka Bele said police are investigating whether foul play was involved. Report says assailants apparently set the place of worship alight. A passing taxi saw the fire and alerted the community, who put out the blaze. Chatsworth Islamic Federation Secretary Salim Adam expresses shock after the mosque in Crofterdon was set on fire. The explosives unit is on the scene of the incident. Doctors Without Borders said on Tuesday it has suspended most of its work in South Sudan's Modern County after protesters looted its offices and those of several humanitarian agencies. The medical charity said in a statement a group of unidentified armed men broke into their office compound, looted the organization and staff's property, burned down a tent full of equipment and destroyed most of the vehicles and communication devices, forcing MSF to suspend majority of its medical support to the host communities and the refugee population. The charity runs the hospital in the Doro refugee camp and offers consultations at the state hospital of the regional capital, Bonj. NSF head of mission Samuel Theodore said the team would continue to treat those with the most critical medical conditions. United Nations Refugee Agency said its premises are among about 10 that had been stormed and looted by protesters. 2 staff members were injured. An Al-Qaeda suspect linked to a plot to kill a Swedish cartoonist has pleaded guilty in a U.S. court to a terrorism charge earlier this week. The Algerian-born Irish citizen Ali Charaf Madaje had been extradited from Spain last year after authorities said they were able to track his online efforts to recruit Americans and Europeans to join a jihadist movement. He was accused of being involved in a terror cell that wanted to kill Swedish cartoonist Lars Vilks, who reportedly depicted the Prophet Muhammad derogatorily. The plot never materialized. A U.S. attorney says they want to be involved in this kind of case to prevent disasters from happening. Angola's $5 billion sovereign wealth fund clashed with Quantum Global in London's High Court on Tuesday. Quantum Global is the manager of $3 billion of the wealth fund's assets. Now the investment firm wants an overturn of an asset freeze the fund obtained. The Angolan sovereign fund had taken the disputes to London, Switzerland and Mauritius as the new government seeks to sever ties with a Swiss firm. The fund also wants to remove Quantum Global as its asset manager, stating it was concerned the firm's approach does not fully align with the principles for which the fund was established. Quantum Global has denied wrongdoing. It says it has properly accounted for money under its management. The Swiss firm said the fund has violated its long-term contractual obligations. We'll take another quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you dey use Palasa, your phone no dey answer. See me see wahala. My brother, go get smartphone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no go for your hand, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no fit take selfie. Drop that Palasa phone. No be correct phone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone.
Upgrade to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store anywhere in Nigeria or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it up for your hand. That's Palasa phone.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to some international stories. 19 people have been confirmed dead and more than 3,000 need to be rescued after a dam collapsed in a remote part of landlocked Laos on Wednesday. An official says death toll could be higher because the conditions are very difficult. At least 7 villages have been submerged. Villagers, some with young children, were seen in the state media video stranded on roofs of houses. Others showed villagers trying to board wooden boats to safety in Apatov province, the southernmost part of the country. A senior Lao government official said dozens of people were feared dead after the hydropower dam that was under construction collapsed on Monday. Rescuers continue to search flood waters for survivors on Wednesday. Laos, one of the world's few remaining communist states and one of Asia's poorest countries, has an ambitious dam building scheme in order to become the battery of Asia. Environmental rights groups have repeatedly warned about the human and environmental cost of the rapid pace of dam construction, including damage to the already fragile ecosystem of the region's rivers. To another disaster story. At least 79 people have been killed in wildfires burning close to Athens, Greece since Monday. Homes and vehicles were destroyed. Hundreds of people were forced to make a desperate dash to the ocean to escape the searing heat and flames. The popular vacation destination of Rafina, about 30 kilometers east of the Greek capital, has been hit hard by the flames. People were trapped in cars and on the edge of cliffs. Some others were forced to jump off the cliffs to survive.
Breaking news. MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM. That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
Welcome back. A suicide bomber killed at least 29 people near a polling center as Pakistanis voted on Wednesday in a knife-edge general election. Islamic State militant group claimed responsibility for the attack, but hospital officials said killed 29 people and wounded 35 in the western city of Quetta. Security sources said the bomber rode his motorcycle into a police vehicle. Earlier this month, a suicide bomber killed 149 people at an election rally in a town in Balochistan province. Islamic State militant claimed responsibility in that attack as well. About 371,000 soldiers have been stranded and stationed at police stations across the country, nearly 5 times the number deployed during the last election in 2013. More than 100 million voters are registered in polls due to close this evening. The likely winner should be known early Thursday morning. Former Catalan leader Charles Puigdemont, facing charges of rebellion in Spain, said on Wednesday he would return to Belgium from Germany and continue to campaign for the region's succession. Spain's Supreme Court dropped a European arrest warrant for Puigdemont last week after Germany refused to extradite him for declaring the northeastern region's independence last year, an act the Madrid ruled was illegal. Puigdemont said he would return to Brussels with his family on Saturday. Puigdemont was on bail, awaiting an extradition order after German authorities arrested him in March. The charges against Puigdemont and 5 other former Catalan leaders in self-imposed exile remain in place despite the lifting of European warrants, meaning they would be arrested if they returned to Spain. A large white and blue truck pulls up outside a stadium in central Japan and slowly expands into a place of worship. Welcome to the Mobile Mosque. As Japan prepares to host visitors from around the world for the 2020 Summer Olympics, a Tokyo Sports and Cultural Events company has created a mosque on wheels it hopes will make Muslim visitors feel at home. Yasuhiro Ino, CEO of Yasu Project, said the possibility that there might be not enough mosque for Muslim visitors in 2020 is alarming for a country that considers itself part of the international community. His mobile mosque would travel to different Olympic venues as needed. He said as an open and hospitable country, they want to share their idea of entrepreneurship with Muslim people. The back of the modified 25-ton truck flipped up to review an entrance and then the slide slid out, doubling the width of the truck. The 48-square-meter room can accommodate 50 people. Muslim guests prayed inside the mosque, which includes outdoor taps and a washing area for pre-worship cleansing. An estimated 100,000 to 200,000 Muslims live in Japan. Inoue said he got inspiration for the project on a trip to Qatar 4 years ago. Now, Japanese ingenuity at work. That's a great point to take. Another break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria. With turbulence in